For the quote of the pod, we're going to get into Will Smith talking with his wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, about Father's Day. So, throughout this interview, they talked a lot about what it meant to be a father and different things that fathers can do to help raise their children. And it's very interesting watching them specifically talk about it because they've been married for quite some time. So I took the best part of this interview, what I believe is the best part of this interview, and I'm going to play it for you and pause it and kind of talk in between it to break down some of the points. So you'll be able to watch the video as I watch the video right when I actually get to pull it up. This one. So I'm not too sure when this came out, but I know that this was pretty impactful for a lot of fathers out there because of what Will Smith was saying throughout the whole entire thing, because he was really kind of unfiltered throughout the whole entire thing. Yeah, it looks like I got it pulled up now. Like I got it pulled up right about now. So. Oh, okay, finally. Sorry for that. For the podcast format, they listen to me struggle through that. But I pulled it up now, so now we're gonna listen together. I'm gonna pause frequently throughout the video just to talk a little bit and give what I think he's trying to get across. So let's listen to Will Smith talk to his wife Jada Pinkett Smith about Father's Day.
Yeah.
How do you think we can help fathers feel better about their fathering?
I think there are a couple of cultural roadblocks to fathering. In the Black community specifically, fathering has been somewhat assaulted, and there have been historical and systemic hurdles to African American fatherhood.
Yeah.
So what he said right there really I kind of took it in a different way, because what he's basically saying is, you know how people like to paint Black fathers as one way, not being in the child's life, or just not caring for the kids or not raising them, which he gets into in the rest of this video I'm about to play. But for the first half of this, I want to address that. I believe that that's a great point, because a lot of African American fathers are really out here raising their children the way that you should be raising them, which means like being in their lives, talking to them, making sure they understand what's right from wrong and how to get what you want in life. And ultimately, that's what Will Smith is trying to break down right here. So let's keep going with the interview and listen, and for the YouTube version, listen and watch this together.
Yeah.
And attempts to dismantle it systemically.
Yeah.
It's a touchy area to talk about, and I'm not relinquishing the responsibility. Let me say first and foremost, if you have kids, take care of your kids, do whatever you have to do as a man to father your children.
Right.
Now, with that said, there's a necessity that mothers make room for fathers.
So right here, I think this is where it gets kind of interesting, because he breaks down kind of a perspective that not most people understand or try to understand with fathering or just being co-parents in general. But so let's get back into the interview.
Mothers have the kids. They're yours. They're yours. It's hard. I can't get them from you.
Yep.
You know.
You own that.
Okay, you own them.
it.
Those are your kids. They
Yep.
came from your body. They're yours.
Right.
I can't father if you don't make room for me and you don't support me.
That's true.
And you have to make room for me in my imperfections. You can't say you're going to make room for me if I get perfect, because I'm not perfect and I'm not going to get perfect.
And never will be. That's right.
And I've had both situations. And, you know, it feels very true for me that motherhood is the doorway to successful fatherhood.
I'm just going to let this play out.
That's important. There has to be a partnership.
Yeah. The mother has to value fatherhood.
Yeah. So it is Father's Day, and your kids never.
So that's basically the clip that I pulled from I think it was a 30 to 40 minute long video. You can actually look it up. I think it's exclusively for Facebook, if I'm not mistaken, which is kind of weird because, like, who gives the rights to the videos to Facebook? But anyways, I guess Facebook might have just cut a huge check that they couldn't turn down. But as you can see, if you look up the interview, you'll see the little Facebook logo in the top right. So yeah, it's exclusively for their platform, even though it's being ripped and put on other platforms. You know how that goes with people wanting to make memes and just take clips like I'm doing right now. So I think that interview was pretty interesting in how Will Smith was breaking down how fathers need the mother to actually make room for fathers to be in their child's life. And for that, I believe that because not everybody has the greatest relationship with baby moms or mothers. So what Will Smith is trying to say is that even though you should take care of your kids at any cost and try to raise them at any cost, no matter how hard it is, it's still a lot easier if the baby moms or the mother or your wife makes more room for you to actually be in your child's life more. And just speaking from personal experience, I know how your parents I know what the effects of your parents actually talking to you versus seeing another person where it's obvious what parents talk to the kids and what parents don't. Like, as a teacher, if you ever been like a teacher, I haven't, but I've seen teachers that talk about this all the time. The first thing they realize when becoming a teacher is that they really, for the people who parents aren't in their lives or don't talk to them at all, those teachers end up becoming the parental figures. I don't know if it's the right term for those children. Like, those children literally look up to them, and that's maybe that's the same case for you, as I know some of the people that listen to this pod are around the same age for me. They could probably attest the right word? They probably can attest to that, saying how they remember a childhood teacher that really cared for them and actually tried to help them learn. Because not all teachers try to help you learn, but the ones that do, you remember them. You will remember them for the long run, I believe. So I think Will Smith really did a great job in breaking that down. And they have children of their own. Will Smith and Jada does. I mean, everybody probably knows their two children, 21-year-old Jaden Smith and 19-year-old Willow Smith. They have a 27-year-old Trey Smith, and I only know that because of the website I looked up, including the interview. So yeah, because that was his 27-year-old Trey Smith was from his first wife, which he gets into in the interview and how that went. And basically they talked about a lot throughout this interview, which is it's pretty cool to see a wife and husband making content together and just them both being so famous that they get to monetize them just expressing real feelings to each other, which I think is definitely something to aspire to. But that's all I really have for Will Smith in the interview, and because it goes into more about Will Smith, Jaden, and did I say his name right? Jaden, I think it's Jaden. Let me see. Jada and Jaden. It really goes into how they developed as children. They get into that also into the interview. It's just a really good interview, and I would recommend going and looking up Will Smith, Jada Pinkett Smith interview, and you will really get a lot of gems out of that interview. And because they go into so many different topics and talk about so many different things, and the chemistry there is like, you can see how they've been together for so long. It's kind of like they just have that chemistry. But that's what I took from that interview. I hope. Let me know in Anchor. Send me a voice message on Anchor, letting me know what you took from this interview and what do you think of my thoughts about the interview, and what do you think about Will Smith's thoughts about Father's Day. And it's funny because most people who listen to this pod, I say like send me a voice message on Anchor, but they'll just hit me up personally. So it's just always like, it will be like 5 to 10 people just texting me talking about certain different things in the pod. And I guess nobody wants to use the voice message on Anchor, because like if you use the voice message on Anchor, I can actually include you into the podcast. Like there's this mechanic where if you send me a question or something, I can include it so they can hear your voice. But I guess not. I mean, people might not want to do that. People might just want to send a little text over, be like, hey, I saw what you did there or whatever, something like that. But I appreciate all the feedback. I was just giving a suggestion on how to actually you can actually be in the podcast, but or in the YouTube format as far as that goes. But yeah, let's switch it up a little bit.